All right, question of the day. What is your favorite survivors type game? Now, I don't mean like Jeff Probst and, Immunity Stones. I mean games in which you're playing as a group of people who have to survive some massive horde. Now, this could be Euros. This could be Amerithrash, because today we're taking a look at Zombicide Gears and Guns, which is an expansion to Undead or Alive, which is the Old West version of Zombicide. Now, if you know anything about me, I am a sucker for anything Western. Western Legends is my #1 game of all time. And I like zombie games, so naturally, this seemed like a good fit. So, not really reviewing Undead or Alive, but more so reviewing Gears and Guns, as Undead or Alive has been out for a little longer. But Gears and Guns takes place in which you're using steam-powered weapons and steam machines to power up those weapons and beat enemies and use the steam to your advantage. So let's take a look at a brief overview of how to play, and we'll come back up talk final thoughts. Alright, so this is Zombicide Gears and Guns. This is Mission 1 setup. Now, a couple things you'll notice between this version and the original version of Zombicide Undead or Alive is the replacement of the tokens for objectives for these cards. So this is a campaign, so you're telling a story, and the main mechanic of the new campaign is steam. Now, there's a couple things missing from the board. You would have, in the base setup, these two steam valves busted. Now, if this steam valve gets up into a higher level, those will do damage to you, but currently they block line of sight. You can move through them, but they don't hurt you unless it gets up here in the yellow. What you're going to be doing that makes this different, I'll give you the overview of what makes it different first, and I'll kind of give you a somewhat of a playthrough overview of Undead or Alive with it, because of the mechanics are the same, obviously, with the exception of adding the steam. But essentially, let's do a component overview really quick. The miniatures, as you always know, are amazing, but look at the steampunk-esque style mixed with the Western. That is Anthony right there, and I just love the way the characters look in this game. All of them look amazing, and they have that fun feel of Zombicide's characters. For instance, is it Lee here? I love the grin on his face. And he's got the bionic arm there with the gun. Just looks awesome. He's got that feeling. It looks like Sunset Riders almost. A couple other things that you're going to get in this one. You're going to get a brand new equipment deck with some of the same staples as water, holy water. But you're also going to get some steam weapons in here. And that's one of the things we'll talk about in a minute. These steam weapons, they all have the ability to go full steam. So for instance, with the steam machete here, if you were to go full steam, you would add a dice, so you'd roll 2, and you'd hit with 2. So it makes it better. Granted, if you roll that steam depletion, you have to flip that over until you're able to fill that with steam again. Now, you can do it a couple different ways. Engineers have an ability that lets them deplete one steam weapon to fill another steam weapon, but there's also inventions that can refill it, and you can also go to any of these valves that are not broken and fill it up as long as the steam is there. Now, if you search in a room with a steam machine, that would be this one, that one, and that one, you get an invention. Now, the inventions are pretty awesome. There's steam bottles, there's goggles that can make you better. The inventions are cool because you place them adjacent to your board as opposed to in one of the slots, so that they provide perks and bonuses, like jump boots, give a character jump. There's lucky, which makes a character lucky. There's all sorts of stuff in there. There's new bounty weapons as well, and there's new map tiles with the steam machines on them, as well as a new abomination. So that's the main differences there. This abomination is awesome. The steam monster, he's got that giant wrench. They just look awesome. You have a bunch of new characters like we talked about, and you have a bunch of objectives. But what's really great and what sets us apart is this is a 10-mission campaign, which is cool because you have these objective cards which tell this long story all about steam and how to use it. Now you notice the train is here in this one. You don't have the tracks running through. That will change based on certain missions, obviously. But the main focus of this is steam. You're using the steam, you're building the steam, you're avoiding the steam overpowering. When you flip a switch, some of the mission cards will tell you to drop the steam level down, which is helpful because at the end of every round, you're going to up the steam by 2. So you play it like normal Zombicide. You spawn the same way. There'll be spawn points on the board. You fight the zombies, and it will give you different losing conditions and different ways to get out. What's different is you're not just collecting random tokens and then hoping to get out. You're following this story with objectives. And these cards, what's awesome, by the way, is they fit right on top of the art of the space below it. They will tell you certain game effects. Characters will show up, weapons will be given to you, bad things will happen. All sorts of different options can happen based on the Steam, or based on these objective cards. So again, this is Mission 1, no spoilers ahead, but just a great expansion. If you like Undead or Alive, this adds a ton of new content, specifically with that Steam mechanic. right, so that's Gears and Guns. Now, first and foremost, I know it's an expansion, so it kind of goes without saying, but we'll talk about art direction, and then as far as the game goes. The Zombicide games always look amazing. They really do. They just have a great artistic style to them. The miniatures are top-notch. This is, in my opinion, the game that Simon was named for, Cool Mini or Not, originally. You know, it had those, they were always known for, man, they've got those amazing looking miniatures, and they've always built on it since with all the Zombicides and other games that have come out since. But this really still looks amazing. The detail work on each of the heroes, the detail work on the zombies is so great. From just like the turned in leg of the saloon girl and all that stuff where her leg is broken from being a zombie, all the little tiny details as well as the facial details are amazing. Plus the steam monster looks fantastic. The boards look nice. I like the Old West board. I like how Zombicide has always managed to divide the spaces or zones in unique ways. So you've got debris, you know, broken wooden pieces that are white lines that divide the squares. To me, that little aesthetic touch is huge for making a game pop. You got all these zombies, you got all these tons of, you know, hordes of zombies running in. And if you don't know anything about Zombicide by this point, just know it's kind of like those top-down zombie shooters like Call of the Dead, which is a replay of kind of the old ones in arcades and stuff like that. So you're just mowing down waves of zombies. And you have to decide, okay, well, do I want to kill a ton of them, or do I want to kind of play strategically and let them slowly build up? It's a good question. But Gears and Guns looks amazing. The art direction itself is great because there's things on the board that tie into the gameplay. I love that the event cards sit on the board on the spaces where they go. So it almost looks like you're just putting a clear orange frame around the space, which to me, such a cool idea. And it's so well done and it matches the board perfectly. Now, that's art direction. The symbols on the cards make sense, especially the new ones with like the Steam dice and all that. It just makes sense. It works. You see, okay, if I go full Steam, I get this amount of dice and I get to do this much more damage. So the Steam stuff works is the art direction too. Now, as far as the gameplay goes, I really like the Steam mechanics because it adds variety to your guns. If you like the original, this is a no-brainer. Plus, it adds that campaign. 10 missions that you can play, the whole My Little Posse. I think that's actually a Jamie Stegmaier game, My Little Scythe. Maybe it is My Little Posse, in which you select a set of people, and once your character dies, you pick another one out of that group. So everybody kind of divides everything up. I really like how the Zombicide the characters play. Like they all have the 4 classes plus the engineer now is so well done. They all have their uses, and everybody goes, well, we need this kind of piece. Well, I want to play as that, but I also really want to play as that. To me, that's a great balance in characters. Now, I will say fanning still seems a little wildly overpowered, especially if you buff it with some of the inventions and things like that. But as far as playing this game, it's a delight to play, but it's also stressful. Not as stressful as Kites. It's a stressful game, but stressful because you're like, oh, I think we're doing good, and then you flip it up, and it's like, oh, extra activation, great. We had a friend named James. You've heard my story about James before with Twilight Imperium, literally jumping up from the table, flipping the table, and then the guy who he was mad at, he had to come back in and say, hey, can you move your car for me so I can get out? It's the greatest story ever. Anyway, I love James to death. He's one of my best friends. James is playing as the shootist, crud, I can't think of the name right now. This is going to bother me. That is just not coming to me. Let me know in the comments because it's slipped my mind completely. But he's the shooter one, right? The gun one, the pistol one. And he is just fanning the heck out of enemies. Like he is mowing them down. And his rolls, plus he's got a lucky thing which lets him re-roll some stuff. Plus the steam dice, he never seemed to run out of his steam. It was just really well done. And he got into the red while we're still in the yellow. So it was like, James, what are you doing? Why are you killing so many zombies? So the very next turn we flip it up and it's like 8 brutes right there. I was like, okay, well, that's all of our brutes out of the box now. Or pretty much are in one activation. So there is the fine line and balance of, do we kill a whole bunch of enemies early, or do we slowly walk through the streets letting those few zombies chase us? It's a balance, and I really think the slow roll method is the way to go, especially if your game doesn't have a timer on it. So that is Zombicide Gears and Guns. It is a must-play if you like the original. If you haven't played the original, then you can't play this because you have to play the original. It's an expansion. But if you have the original, you're going to love this game. If you like regular Zombicide, you're going to love this game. I liked regular Zombicide okay, but I only played it pre-fixing the shooting into the squares with friendly people fix, and so had a bad taste in my mouth then. Now I love how it works. The misses are the only thing that hit. I think that's a cool idea. At the end of the day, Gears and Guns is a fun game. Giving it an 8 out of 10. Just a blast. So that is Gears and Guns. I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Brian. Make sure to check out the Dice Tower merch store. We've got all sorts of great merch there. The coupon code for buy 2 shirts, get 1 free is still active. So Dice Tower Brian, DicetowerStore.com. Until next time, we'll see you.